All right, I believe we'll. Good evening, everybody. Two Guys, One Cup, Shawn and Roc, the post-mortem edition for the 2022-2023 season. And it's I want to start off because Roc, you went live, and it's awesome that you did it. I told Roc I was not going to watch it because I from whatever we were going to do tonight. Hold on, I'm just going to comment on here for everybody to join. This is great podcasting. I know that part.
Listen, everyone heard me talk last night, so I'm sure they're all waiting to hear what you have to say, your comments, your analysis. You were in the Roc.
I was in the building.
Yes,
I was in the building
to witness going down as maybe in the top
history
3 worst playoff performances in Ranger history.
I did not get to see Ron Francis score 600 feet away, so maybe that was worse.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything was ever worse. I just want to start off the show by saying this is that train ride home last night. I'm like, all right, I know we're going to do a show this week, night or sometime this week, but I'm literally like in my head at Roc, and I did not tell Roc this yet. Everything me and Roc have barely in the last 2 days on purpose. Obviously, would be genuine for everybody. I seriously contemplate continue doing the show, and this has nothing to do with Roc. It has nothing to do with you guys. It just had to do with me and Roc are very different when it comes to speaking negatively. I hate having to speak negatively. Roc, I don't think Roc does either, but he's. I think that's a world that Roc, that you feel comfortable is when you see something wrong, point it out, kill this guy, kill that guy. And that's not a negative. It's just we're wired differently. I seriously was like, do I want to do this? This is like I have fun talking about the opposite with this team, what I see and what should be what is sometimes. I'm not going anywhere. I realized how much I love what we have, what we do. I love the audience, going back and forth with you guys. Like if we threw this together, and it is what it is. But I have come to the dark side after what I witnessed, not only in Game 7, throughout this series. This is really, really bad, and it's bad. I don't like that, Roc. It's bad because
dude, you go, man, because everyone heard what I had to say last night. So you go off and you say what you need to say.
The core of this group is locked up. No one's going anywhere. Like everyone clamoring for changes. The only change you can make is the coach, whether it's deserved or whether it's not. In this case, I think it's 2 consecutive playoff series have ended the same way. And it's a track record. It was a concern that Gallant. Roc was very much for Gallant when he was hired. There were some people out there like, he's the wrong guy, don't want to coach. But I'm like, we broke down maybe the circumstances as to why he was fired, and maybe it was those organizations more than it was him. But here we are. To me, there are 2 death knells here. Roc, I don't know if you saw the post-game show because you were doing your live thing during the post-game.
Yes.
Or did you watch it first?
No, I didn't watch anything. I read it after I'm sorry. I didn't watch the post-game. I shut it off.
Okay. I watched it last night after I got home.
I read the transcript. I follow a website that they transcribe all the interviews, and that's where I read it, and so I did that. I did not hear him live. I didn't watch it. I didn't have the heart to watch it. So Listen, Sean. I mean, you didn't hear my rant last night, but I conceded. I conceded this loss. I was emotionally ready for the season. That if the season was to end, it was going to end. So I was disappointed, but I wasn't angry. And when you have time, if you go back and you watch that podcast or that thing that I did, you're going to see I screamed and yelled about things that had really nothing to do with the outcome of the series. I told you all season I don't like the way this team played. I don't like a lot of the things that went down. I don't like a lot of the moves they made. I didn't like their off season. I didn't like. Patrick Kane, like I said, was overkill. They didn't need him. They needed a different element, and they got burnt. And what you said is accurate. Their core is locked up, and we're stuck at this point.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say game was in listening to Gallant's post-game press conference. When I take what the words I heard and the tone in which Gallant said certain things, mixed with the reports that are coming out from everyone who's everyone in reporting for the NHL, there's a disconnect between the general manager and the coach. So question to Gallant, which I'm sure most of you have heard, if you about the question of the amount of talent in that room. Was he surprised? And he said, talent? You don't necessarily need all the time. I'm paraphrasing, but it means shit without work ethic and dedication. And he said, give me some forecheckers talent on pretty much any day. So to me, that's a direct shot at the team that Drury constructed, not what Gallant felt he needed. And there's a lot of different things that could be at play here. And we'll those in a little bit. I've been doing, listen, I used a day of PTO today. I did not go to work today. Today was a day for me to truly reflect. I've done a lot of things, digging into little, Easter eggs of picked up over the last several months, and then looking like one of those movies that in the first scene of the movie, and then they go back and kind of get this death happen. Yeah. Seriously, like that's what my day was, retracing like the little things that you saw throughout the year and how it all comes to fruition. So, long story short, obviously you hear now is talking about Joel Quenneville. It's talking about that Arthur Staple today saying that the whisperings were really loud about Gallant might be coaching his final game. I didn't hear it about a thing about Gallant being fired before yesterday. So I don't know Staple, but he's an Islander fan, so it doesn't really matter. But when you really mix this together, same way that I was able to kind of, take piece here about why Chris Drury was hired and that he was probably told he was getting to turn the Pittsburgh job down way before John Davidson and Gorton. Just infer how things work. So I think that there was things that have been in motion now, contingencies to, hey, I'm sure everyone's been critical about Roc. I'm sure Drury has been critical about too. So he's had his for the last several weeks on if Gallant is the right guy to coach this team. They're wrong, because like I said, you can't fire the players. It's about 7 years. Panarin's here another 3 years or 4 years, whatever it is. Yes. Kreider's here another 4 years. Trocheck's here, to the end of eternity. So everyone's here for a long fucking time. Like no one in this core is going anywhere. So the same way we just saw Calgary get rid of Daryl Sutter. Does Daryl Sutter no longer knows how to coach hockey? No. The team that's assembled, Jonathan Huberdeau signed for 8 more years. For what, $10 million a year? If that guy,
they fired their GM too, though, Sean. They fired their GM too.
I get that, but you sometimes just have to realize the player is here, and I can't move the player. No one's taking Jonathan your $100 million contract, whatever he signed.
I think he's tradable. I think
on a 43 point. He didn't have 115 points again this year. He had 46 points or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need coach that'll work with what you have. And if Gallant and this roster, if it doesn't work for what the postseason entails, listen, you got to make a move. If that's where it's going to fall, that's where it's going to fall. Because like I said, you can't fire the players. I want to touch on Quenneville real quick. I've wanted Joel Quenneville to coach this team 10 years. I just want to give my piece on what's out there and with Quenneville, because I don't remember if we ever really show.
Not really.
If we did, it was probably for a minute. Corporate America in any way, shape, or form, or you work for the same type of things, a pecking order. The head coach, as much as he's a big figure, to us as fans, right? He's the face of the organization to us. In the grand corporate environment, which don't kid yourselves, the Rangers are, and Bucks were, he's middle management. He's the same as just going to, if I'm a sales rep, I have a manager he's got 10 people above him, but my middle management, which is essentially what Quenneville was. And Quenneville has a relationship with the trainer, right? They worked together for a long time, known each other for a long time. Put yourself in that situation. Take someone that you've known for years, and you would scoff at the fact that those accusations would be left. Are you going to throw away a 20-year friendship? Think you don't know the person? I've known. If those accusations were thrown against Roc, that's not a 20-year friendship. That's a 2-year friendship. I'll be like, get the fuck out of here. So someone for 20 years, and someone's capable of doing what happened to Chris Beach. Listen, he did supposed to do. He reported it up the ladder.
I think it was
Kyle Beach, Chris Beach, one of them.
Chris Beach was the
Washington Capitals guy.
Well, he was a Washington Capital draft pick that was traded in the Yager trade.
Okay.
Okay.
Kyle Beach. The ladder. That's his job to do. He didn't say, let's keep this here. He reported it up the corporate ladder to his superiors, which is what you do in that situation. I don't know what else he's supposed to do. He stood by a friend of 20 years because it's probably an unbelievable thing. He's too close to it.
Right.
Friends with somebody, you can't just turn your back on them on an accusation with he said, she said, no proof. Especially if you truly feel you know the character of the man, and there's no way he did this.
Right.
Now, in this event, he's wrong. He resigned. He said, "Listen, I'm not going to. I know that what a distraction this is going to be," and he resigned. Did the right thing in resigning from Florida.
He's probably going to get fired anyway, but he did.
But now it's been a couple of years. This shouldn't be a life sentence. This isn't a cancel culture type of thing. This is not Joe Quenneville didn't fucking sexually assault his player. He didn't squelch it. The worst thing that I have heard that has come that Joe Quenneville did in this situation was tell the team to not let this be a distraction. And that's his job, to make sure that things like this, or like anything, they're not distractions to the team on the ice.
Yeah.
Because his job ultimately is still graded on wins and losses.
Right.
So,
Shawn, I just to give you my piece on this.
Sure.
They're trying to crucify this guy, and based off what you said. But meanwhile, we've seen Jose Reyes, Aroldis Chapman, Michael Vick, numerous guys, Steve Howe, Billy Tibbetts. I mean, I know I'm missing people.
People who actually did the thing.
That people still go buy their jerseys, still stand up and applaud them when they hit a home run or throw a pass or score a goal or whatever it is, and that's fine. What's the difference? I just don't get it. I mean, because he's a coach, is it any worse? I just don't get it. I don't understand the logic behind it. And listen, we're not in the room. We don't know everything that happened.
Right.
You
We
know,
can only go
just
by
like,
what came out in court.
There's a lot of things, and people want to make assumptions, just like they jumped on D'Angelo and other people. I mean, based off of a lot of stuff that we don't know the whole story over. Joe Quenneville's a great coach. That's all I know.
Right.
I know his wins and loss records. That's all I know.
Second winningest coach of all time with 3 Stanley Cup rings. If that guy and he's only 64, he's not old. So if that guy wants to come coach my team,
yeah, you know, I just
tell you what, he won't get outdone by Lindy Ruff in the playoffs.
Probably not. You know, probably not. And listen, I said this on the thing the other night. I said Gallant is going to become the scapegoat here because, like you said earlier, they can't get rid of any of these guys, and that's the scary part. Is now we are now stuck with these guys for at least another 2 seasons. You know, and the guys and the guys we're talking about, and we've all been on the record as saying it is mostly Trouba and Panarin. I mean, to me, they're the 2 biggest problems on this team. Trocheck is a problem. He's
so
lower.
We disagree with one of them.
Well, the only reason I'm saying I think Trouba is a problem is because he makes a lot of money and he doesn't give you any kind of offensive production. And Sean, when you're paying $8 million for a defenseman, they've got to give you offensive production of some kind.
Our season was completely changed on his business and leadership.
All right, him throwing a helmet. All right, a lot of guys could have thrown
second best team in the NHL from that day forward.
All right, fine. Second best.
It mattered.
But let me ask you a question. And
yes, do I wish he was making $6 million instead of $8 million? Yes, for that extra $2 million to wear the C and take that responsibility on head first and be good at it.
How about put up 40?
I'm not worried about him scoring points.
I am.
Not worried about it.
How many $8 million defensemen, Sean, don't even score 40 points?
Like I said, if he was making 6, I'd be more comfortable with it. I'm not disagreeing with you on the extra $2 million. He's not a $4 million defenseman, Rock.
Well, he's not an $8 million defenseman. He's closer to a $4 million defenseman than
an
$8 million.
Stop.
Oh, 100%.
Stop.
And I'm a Trouba fan. I wanted him for 7 years.
I
wanted him for a long time. So I'm a fan, but when you see what this team is lacking and how their depth is being questioned, and you know something's got to give. It's going to be Goodrow. It's going to be Goodrow. I feel bad saying that because I like Goodrow. Someone has to go. Somebody needs to go for this team to improve.
He's one of the few guys that showed up in this series, so I don't know how that.
You can't roll it back with the same bullshit again. Listen. The Trocheck signing will go down it's going to go down the way Roosevelt and Redden. It's going to go down that road. It's coming.
Well, here's why I don't think that. Because contrary to what any of us believe, on paper he had an excellent season for a center that's making $5.5 million a year.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
Because he's got a ton of value around the league for wanting to move him. So Wade Redden did not.
So trade him now. If
he's got a no move clause. He's got a no move clause for this year and next year.
If you told them, listen, we don't want you anymore.
100%.
List of teams because they've done it. They can put him on waivers.
Not with a no move, you can't.
With a no move clause?
No.
All right, I'm thinking of McDonough. McDonough, I guess, just had a no trade clause.
Yeah, he had a no trade.
All right, I apologize.
So this converts to a no trade clause after the next 2 seasons. Years are essentially he's here.
This is my problem with this has become my real bone of contention with Trocheck, more so than what it was to start the season. I've accepted the fact that he's just a glorified person that wins face-offs and
not this series.
Where was the havoc? Where was the havoc that he's supposed to create in this series?
He was, and I've supported him all year because I've had to be a little bit of the counterbalance to you making him out to be David Desharnais. He was awful. He's one of the few guys I could literally point to that was awful for all 7 games. Like there was not one game where he even forget the goal he scored. I don't even give a shit about that. He was awful for all 7 games. He didn't win faceoffs.
Nope.
He did nothing.
So
he skated in circles. That's pretty much what he did for 7 games.
One of the broadcasts, I don't remember what game it was, said that he had won. He was top 15 in the league in faceoffs.
He wasn't top 15 on the team in faceoffs in the playoffs.
Whatever. So the point was, I watched him. I said, I need to see, because they were getting, in game 4 specifically, they were getting killed on faceoffs. So I turned to my buddy Brian and I said, I'm going to watch Trocheck. He lost 3 consecutive defensive zone faceoffs. Then he lost an offensive zone faceoff. And then he then went off and won 3 neutral zone faceoffs. So there's his 50% winning percentage. Does it matter if he wins the offensive? Does it really matter if he wins a neutral zone faceoff?
No.
I wish someone would break down defensive zone, offensive zone. Because to me, that number's bullshit. You're telling me that it matters matters the same whether he wins a neutral zone faceoff or he wins a defensive zone faceoff? That's completely bullshit.
Right.
So that's my point, and that's the thing that drives me crazy when they say, "Oh wow, great, he wins faceoffs." Well, he doesn't win the faceoffs you need him to win. That's my point. You know, I don't want to again. A Trocheck to me is the least of their problems.
Who was it?
When comes to certain
Which
guys.
coach was it that said we have our own faceoff numbers? Was that Quinn or AV?
I think it was AV.
We all laughed at it.
Yeah.
We were so bad on faceoffs. Like, we have our own metrics for faceoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Or it might have been Tortorella.
No, it didn't go that far back.
No, back.
It was definitely within the last few years.
Again, Panarin's a problem, and you said it out so eloquently. I compare him to Rick Nash. He is Rick Nash without the defensive prowess. That's essentially what it is. At least Nash, like you said.
Who are you talking about?
Panarin.
Oh.
Panarin's awful. He's not a clutch player, and I don't know. You know, one of the guys, I think it was Dan Demers, if I remember correctly, asked me in the chat about Strome, and I said, listen, Strome was a nice player. They had chemistry with Panarin. I get it, but Panarin was bad last playoffs too. He had 16 points in 20 games, 9 in the power play. So 5-on-5 again, he wasn't good. I don't know who you need to bring in, because if you're stuck with him, that means you need to bring someone in who can play with him. They brought in Kane, it didn't work. They brought in Tarasenko, it didn't work. They brought in Trocheck, it didn't work. I don't know at what point do you say to yourself, listen.
Oh, the player's the problem.
We need to move on.
Been saying this since we started the show, dude. He's a problem.
Well, I mean, he's not a problem when he's putting up 90 points.
Not in the regular season, he's not. But I said it before.
Sean, I gave him a pass for last year because it was really his first real playoff series.
I didn't.
Well, you should. You're not giving Mika a pass on this playoff series?
No, he was terrible.
You're not giving a break to anybody. Everybody.
For what? Everybody everybody on this roster went through the ringer last year. Mm-hmm. There was no one that didn't have experience in any of these situations. So there was no one that deserved. You know who I give a pass to? I give a pass to one guy, Ryan Lindgren. Because, listen, skating-wise, he was fine. He was in the right positions at all times. Brought zero physicality, which to me just means his shoulder is literally hanging on by a string. Because there's no way that Ryan Lindgren was that passive if he was healthy. So that's the one guy that I give any type of pass to in this series. And I owe an apology to Igor Shesterkin for a lot of the things I said this year about him, because I'm blown away by how good he was in this series. Blown away.
He's been good for a while.
This series was different.
More than 3 goals, Sean, since the beginning of March.
The quality of what was in front of him and some of the saves. I mean, just the microcosm of Game 7 alone. I'm sitting up there going, this should be 5-0. You know, midway through the second period, I'm like, this should be 5-6-0. Every time that the Devils took a shot, it deflected off somebody right on net. And he had to make a last second move to save it, to deflect it away.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. I'm sitting in a crowd of Devils fans all moaning and groaning about how they can't score on this guy. I owe a big apology to him. I need him to focus and get through, an 82-game regular season a little better maybe, but I'll never doubt his ability again. One thing I do want to touch base on, another thing that I've done a lot of thinking about today, is Patrick Kane. I'm literally putting it at 80% that Patrick Kane is a New York Ranger next year. 80%. I think it's almost a next.
Are you basing this on Quenneville?
No, has completely independent of Joel Quenneville. This guy spent 15 years in Chicago?
Yeah.
It was a tough decision for him to leave the one place he had been his whole and he forced his way to get here. So he's not looking to go elsewhere, personally for himself. He's going to need hip surgery. The whole league knows it. It's not a secret. So who's signing him? It's not like there's some lucrative deal that's going to be out there for him. So I think you're going to have one of these situations where we're going to actually finally be able to do what Tampa's done, what Vegas has done, and that is sign the guy to a one-year deal, let him get it, and you put him on LTIR, and he comes back in February or March, gets ready for the playoffs, and you have 100% healthy, Kane. He'll be 35, but hey, 33, he had a 2-point season.
What kind of money are you talking though, Sean? I mean, they
Four,
can't give him. I don't
4.5. If it's on LTIR, you can.
He's on that, but what if they don't have the space to take him off LTIR?
What are you talking about? Do you have accrued space that they're going to have? So here, all right. So maybe I should explain a little deeper what my plan would be for this team for this year. I go younger. That's what I would do. I want Othman. I want Cooley. I want Sikora to give him a chance at making the team in training camp. I know he's young. He's still 18 years old. I reached out to Dana McGillicuddy today because I was actually curious if he had watched any of the Hartford games, because I'm curious just from the physics how he's faring in against the AHL. Because
he's playing on the fourth line.
That's fine. That's all he would be doing here too.
I reached out to somebody from Hartford too, and I asked about him.
Okay. Does he look overmatched? That's what I would want to know.
He said he's doing well. He says the kid Rich Milner, who I talked to, who's a Hartford correspondent on Twitter. He told me that he's pretty much he's playing well. He's playing on the fourth line, and that's pretty much where we are.
I want to see this team, because Othman and Cooley especially, right? These are two guys that are very similar to what we just witnessed on the other side of the ice with the Devils. They're two guys who have offensive game, that have motors, and that play the way that we kind of need to play. Mm-hmm. Neither one's a burner. I don't mean that they have motor, that they're a burner, but they're relentless players. Mm-hmm. They're gonna go. They're gonna do the dirty work. They're gonna do what needs to be done. Othman has a hell of a shot, so I mean there should be some offense that comes from him as well. And if you have Cooley and Othman being two guys that play. I don't want to get into line combos, but let's just say, for instance, you put Panarin, Zibanejad, and Kreider as your first line next year, and you have the kid line essentially move up and be your second line. Mm-hmm. You put Othman and Cooley on a third line with Trocheck, and then fill in, come back with the same fourth line you just had. Those are two spots that are going to be $800,000 or $850,000, ELCs. So you have a ton of cap room that you're going to have with having two more ELCs in your lineup. I would like to re-sign Nico Mikkola if it's reasonable. If it's not, then you're going to have to, go with the Ben Harpers, the Zach Joneses, maybe a Matthew Robertson gets a chance. I know he's hurt right now. That was the other person I was inquiring about. Those are the types of things that I'm going to look to do, which is going to leave us with some pretty good cap room. That if you have Kane on LTIR for the majority of the season, his cap hit that's going to be remaining when he gets activated is going to be next to nothing. You're talking $4.5 million by March. By late February, it's going to be down to like $1 and change. So they'll be able to fit that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something they're going to have to figure out. I don't know what you do, Sean, with this team. I really don't.
I'm just saying. I think he'll be here, because where else is he going? Where else is he going?
My point is, if you're going to be here, then sign for $1 million. You made $100.
That's not realistic.
Why is it not realistic?
Because it's not realistic.
Why? He's 35 years old, coming off a down season with a bad hip.
Because it's a respect thing, and you got to understand that there's
Corey Perry took.
Corey Perry couldn't hold Patrick Kane's jock, dude.
He won a Hart Trophy though. Corey Perry.
Kane hasn't.
I'm not saying he hasn't, but I'm just saying you can't. You have to do some kind of. They're somewhat comparable. Corey Perry only has one cup.
Corey Perry had 3 great seasons. Kane had like 15. Greatest American
Still
player of
probably a
all
Hall
time.
of Famer.
No, Corey Perry's not a Hall of Famer, dude.
He's borderline.
I don't think so.
He's borderline. He's borderline.
I bet you he doesn't even have
We'll look up
800
his
points.
numbers.
I don't
We'll
even think
look
he
up
has
his
800
statistics.
points.
Well,
He's not getting in the Hall of Fame.
We'll look it up.
Yes, Danny, I know Bergeron took $1 million, but that was his team. And that was his team for a long time. Nick, yeah, if it's 2.5, 3, maybe I'm overestimating what he's going to get because it's $4.5 million of real money, not cap money, because he's going to be on LTIR. So you don't disrespect him in the wallet, but you're not actually absorbing a $4.5 million cap hit by having him on your team. But yeah, that's what I would do because
Perry is almost 900 points, Sean.
Almost, yes, he's got 800 something points.
883 points.
It's not a Hall of Famer. 1,000. Pierre Turgeon's got 1,300 points. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
He played in the 80s. It doesn't count.
Played in the 90s.
He played mostly in the 80s, though. And then what's his name? And then Cicerelli, too. Is Cicerelli a Hall of Famer? 500 goals.
That's a Hall of Famer to me.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he's signing for $1 million. But that's besides the point.
But he should, though. That's my saying. He should. If you want to be here that bad, the Rangers you sold the Rangers a bag of shit for he was horrible. He owes us. I'm sorry. He owes us. We got him here. He owes us. He owes this franchise something. I'm sorry. He owes the fans something. He was hurt. He forced his way here. He owes us. I'd hate to be an asshole, and I like Kane, and I respect the fact that he gave everything he could. But like Boomer Esiason, and I said this on the show last night. Chicago traded us a injured player, and I understand.
But we knew that. But we knew that. We all knew he had a hit problem.
Oh well, they weren't concerned about it when he scored a hat trick against Toronto. That's what really turned this whole fucking thing around.
But they knew he was hurt. Everybody knew he was hurt. If me and you knew he was hurt, then they knew even.
Hurt. Not this hurt though, Sean. Not like this. I mean. I said the other night. I mean, you could have put the statue of David from Florence, Italy, on the ice. He could have moved faster. He would have moved faster than Kane. I mean, he was an absolute statue out there. I mean, he wasn't even remotely the player that he was.
Yeah, you saw he was able to turn it on for a shift here and a shift there, and that was really it.
No, listen again. He wanted to come here. I think he owes the organization something. He owes them a hometown discount. I know he hasn't been here that long. That's just my opinion.
And Tyler Mott needs to be brought back. I'm sick of trading draft picks and prospects.
No, I agree with him. I don't know. The question is he?
Because he was the one guy that showed up to me. He showed up completely.
And he played he was one of their better players down the stretch.
Yep.
I get why these guys leave because they want a big payday. But I mean, at some point
he didn't get it last year. He signed 2 days before training camp or something like that. Or during training camp, he signed with Ottawa.
He signed for over $1 million. Still,
right?
I mean, the Rangers can't afford a fourth line player that makes over $1 million.
So you give him one.
I don't think he's even going to get that. I think you offer him the same contract you offer VC, maybe.
Well, the fact that he was traded for Julien Gauthier should just tell you what his value was around the league, right? That's all we had to trade to get him was Julien Gauthier.
Well, he was hurt. And that's his other problem. He does get hurt a lot, which doesn't help. So, but he's built like a brick shithouse. You ever see him in one of the in the spandex? What's it called? The Under Armour shirts. This guy's ripped. I mean, he's jacked.
Not as intimately as Joe Micheletti has, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
he's a little old for Joe though now.
Yeah. Well, he's still growing into his body.
Yeah.
But anyway. Like I said, I mean, I listen. If they brought Kane back, I guess I wouldn't be disappointed. But like I said, to begin with, I didn't think they needed Kane. I said this. I don't think he was the right player for this team. But I guess under the circumstances, if he's coming back for a sweetheart deal, then maybe you roll it back with him. But to me, I just think that this team needs a different ingredient. They're definitely missing something. They're definitely lacking in areas. They're not quick. They're not fast. They're not gritty. I honestly don't know what the hell they are. And to be perfectly honest with you, we've said this, and I've said this a million times. We said it on this show. I understand St. Louis worked out when he came here, but to me, the Marty St. Louis working out are few and far between. Bringing these high-profile players in, and Gallant said it, and you said something about Gallant before, and to me, he threw the entire team under the bus. He said essentially that with the talent doesn't mean anything. You need players. You need a team. and that's essentially what he said. He basically put it at the feet of the players. The loss. He took zero responsibility for this team's loss. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He didn't take any responsibility. So it's going to be interesting what's going to happen tomorrow if he's going to address the media or if they're going to let this kind of fester for a little while. But all in all, it to me, and I said this on the thing last night, I saw this coming a mile away.
I know you did.
This team did not show me that they were a Stanley Cup contender. The way they played this entire season, where getting to overtime was their biggest priority and losing, to me that wasn't a recipe for success. And again, I want nothing more on this planet than to be proven wrong. And they proved me right every single time. And I said it. I watched Game 3. They lost that game in overtime. I turned to my buddies. I was at my buddy's house, my buddy Vic's house. I said, we just gave this team life. And I hoped I was wrong. But again, I should be a fucking psychic when it comes to this team because I am never wrong.
You should bet.
I'm not.
I don't know why you don't bet.
Should. Because you know what, Sean, maybe I should stop betting because maybe
you laugh about my raffles. You should just start gambling on the Rangers.
I should. I really should. I really should. But I don't have the intestinal fortitude to bet against them. I just don't. I can't do it. I had a friend who will remain nameless. He hedged with the Devils in Game 5 because he's like, well, I'll put money on the Devils. If I win, I'll make money on the Devils winning. If the Rangers win, I'll make more money on my Game 6 tickets. And he hedged, and we saw the Game 6 tickets plummeted. I mean, they really plummeted. It's incredible.
Yep.
It's really incredible. I've always said this. Ranger fans,
and that was a great game. You all missed a great game that didn't want to go.
Sean, Ranger fans are the most fickle fans in New York. When they're winning, when they're on a winning streak and they're hot, I mean, people are begging you for tickets. If they're on a 2 or 3 game losing streak, forget it. You can't give tickets away. It
Nope.
is absolutely incredible how fickle this fan base is.
6 years I've been doing the raffles. That was the first raffle I was not able to fill.
Which one? Game 6?
Game 6. Yep. The first time in 6 years I couldn't fill.
That's incredible.
Yep.
What do? Do you give everyone their money back?
No. I wound up doing a play-in tournament essentially.
Oh yeah, that's right. You did that. I forgot. Yeah.
So that.
But yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it's incredible. And I guess so. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you think if Gallant is out, it's going to become tomorrow, or do you think this is going to kind of?
No, I think it'll. I think that they're only going to. They're going to play this. Like some people do in their relationships. They're going to wait till the replacement is already in place before announcing it.
Well, they fired Quinn and they didn't have a replacement.
Because they just fired Quinn. This is different. I think that coming off back-to-back 100 points.
When they fired AV, they didn't have a replacement.
Because that was the end. That was the end of a run. I don't think that they necessarily view this as the end of a run. It's how can we be better?
Tortorella, they didn't have a replacement.
End of the run. No, I'm saying these were end of runs.
No.
This is year 2.
You thought Tortorella was end of the run?
Yeah.
They were 2 years away from an Eastern Conference final.
And got embarrassed by Boston.
But they did win around. We all forget
the Washington series.
They beat Washington.
Yeah.
This is why this is so much worse. This is slightly. I want to even go as far as saying this is worse than the Tampa series.
Last year or
no.
15?
In 15. It's very close, but at least the Tampa series, they were somewhat competitive in Game 7. I mean, they were non-existent. I mean, they got embarrassed in Game 5 and in Game 7.
They were pretty much right up there. We generated nothing. The only difference that I take...
And it was a shit goal by Killorn that went through Henrik Lundqvist's legs, and it went empty net goal. There's the game.
Yeah, I would say the one difference is at least in 2015, it was a fairly violent game. There's at least hitting. I at least thought that they were trying. They were a no-show offensively, couldn't generate anything. But is it
alarming to you that it almost feels like they quit on this guy? I mean, this quickly. Is that me? To me,
they played the right way in games 1 and games 2. They scored 10 goals. Yes, one was an empty netter, but they scored 10 goals playing playoff style hockey, and then immediately said, "Ha, we know better. Let's go out there and play like we're the fucking Harlem Globetrotters in the first period of game 3." And they gave that game away. That was that. They played a really good game.
Sean.
They played a really good game in game 3. Did they play the style that they should have in games 1 and 2? No, but they played a good game. Yeah. And went to overtime, and they had every chance to win in overtime. They were peppering Schmid in overtime. And what happens? Dougie fucking Hamilton, the biggest loser in hockey, put it right down my fucking throat. Thanks, guy. Game 4 was just a disastrous no-show, in my opinion.
Horrible game.
Game 5, we all know what happened.
Yep.
Game 6, they got a little bit back to what they needed to do, like in games 1 and 2, not completely.
But I will tell you this. They're up 5-2 in that game. The Devils, 5-1 in that game.
5-1.
5-1. The Devils pull their goalie with 4 minutes left. Mm-hmm. They didn't get an empty net goal.
But they were just trying to get the puck deep.
But Sean, that's not the point.
The game was over.
This goes back. That doesn't matter.
The game was over.
Sean, the puck. How many times have the other team pretty much scored an empty net goal the second they stepped on the ice after the goalie was pulled?
But who cares?
I care, because to me that shows no killer instinct.
That's picking on the 13th forward, 7th defenseman.
No, I don't agree with that.
It's right there with it.
The game
was not. This wasn't a 3-2 game, and they couldn't score on the empty net. The game was over.
About 4 minutes left. You mean to tell me
the game was over? The Devils
4 minutes
weren't
left.
Yes,
4 minutes left. I don't agree with that.
Game was over.
To me, that just goes to show you that they were running around the zone for 3 minutes. So the Devils never stopped playing. Down 4 goals. The Devils never stopped playing. That's my point.
We didn't stop playing. We played defensive. The way the Devils
defensive zone the whole time.
The way the Devils played in the third period of game. Did the Devils stop playing in the third period of game 7? Because they just dumped the puck every time they got it? Did they stop playing? No, they just weren't trying to score anymore. So that's all the Rangers did. They just kept.
Rangers still couldn't get in the neutral zone though. Out of the neutral zone, into the defensive zone.
So they were just getting it out of the zone and then getting and changing lines and just move. Just
like I said, I just don't think this team has any type.
That's the biggest nitpick out of all. If that's what you took away out of a 7-game series as being negative,
what I took away was that this team has zero killer instinct.
Agreed. Oh,
and it stems from the top. It stems all the way from the top, and for them to show up in a game 7 and roll over the way they did in this series, to me, is a cry for help. And I don't know what you do. I mean, I don't know if I'm Drury. I don't know if I knock on Panarin's door tomorrow.
There's nothing to say.
And say, well, I'm not. I'm just saying. I would tell him. You got to
laugh at you. He'd laugh at you.
You got to do something. You got to do something.
He's going to say, "I don't want to play anywhere else," and that's it.
Well, you're going to play on the 4th line, and you're going to get 8 minutes a night, and see how long that lasts.
But that's not going to happen.
It should.
That's not reality. It's not reality. Because you lose the rest of the locker room if you do that.
Why?
Because a 90-point player in the league has respect in the locker room.
All right, but Sean, at what point do you say to yourself when you're not living up to your expectations? At what point are you accountable for it?
He's going to say, "I just put up 92 points last year." What are you talking about?
I don't give a shit anymore with the regular season. What you do with the regular season, and what Rory does is he slams his Stanley Cup ring on the desk. This is what we brought you here for. We didn't bring you here for to score 90 points in the regular season.
Again, that's good for us to say, but that's not reality.
Right. Listen, I know. You're right. But something needs to be said and something needs to be done. And they need to call somebody out. I'm sorry. This team is...
I agree with the calling out.
Nice
and he should have been scratched. At certain points, he should have been scratched. If Brian Leach was able to be benched in Game 5 in 94, if other guys had been scratched in games before for discipline, or for not playing the right way, or for turnovers, you can't have a guy turn the puck over 8 times in a game, every game, and then just give him 20 more minutes the next night. I agree with that part of it. But I'm telling you, he chose to come here. He wanted to play in the big city. It was between us and Florida.
He didn't come here for $10. It's the second highest paid player in hockey.
Listen, what's his name? What's that name's offered him plenty of money, and he said no.
Don't say, but Shawn, he didn't come here for peanuts.
Didn't the Devils offer him more than we did? And he still said no.
I think Columbus offered him more, and I think the Islanders offered him more.
Someone. We were not the highest bidder.
Columbus or the Islanders offered him more. Again, he didn't come here for half price. He's still making almost $12 million, and I'm sorry.
He's not going anywhere.
I've said this a million times, and I probably won't.
I'd love for him to retire tomorrow and go back to Russia. I would love for it. I would trade him for a 7th round pick.
I trade him for nothing.
I don't need anything back. I just need him out of here.
I trade him for nothing because you know what? You can go out and bring in 3 guys for what he's making.
Yes.
There's your 90 points.
Right.
And they're deep into your lineup. And what was the Rangers' biggest problem in 2013, Shawn?
They couldn't score.
When they acquired Rick Nash, in 2013, what was their problem?
They bottled him up, and we had no way to adjust to it.
Well, not only that is the Rangers were too top heavy. That was their biggest issue. They had Gabrick, Richards, and Nash at top, and they had nobody in the middle because they traded Dubinsky, they traded Anisimov, and the guys they brought in weren't producing.
Yeah, but depth wasn't our problem.
Sure,
this year. This year, I'm saying now. I don't think depth is our problem now. Our top guys not scoring is our problem.
Well, I mean, I think the point of the matter is that they're just no. I doubt they were too top heavy this year. You're right. I did. They got no. The kids being
a no-show in the playoffs was a problem. That was a problem because that was a place that we could have exploited them and they didn't.
You trade Lafreniere?
No. None of them. No.
So what's your solution on improving this team if you're going to roll it back with everybody?
The coach. Like I said, I'm not firing the players.
You're really going to roll back
because I did
same exact team.
Because not this. Tarasenko won't be here.
All right.
So you can replace someone who's going to play more in line with what they're looking for. Kane won't be here for at least the first half of the season, so you can still replace that spot with someone who's more in line for what you're looking for.
I still feel you're rolling back most of the same team. So what are you replacing? 2 guys? 3 guys?
Yes, but they're all in the contract, and I'm not giving up on Lafreniere and giving up on Kakko is
what if you
like
can make a Drew
trading Mika Zibanejad away for.
Okay, what if you can make a? But that was stupid. What if you can make?
So it's trading him now.
Sergachev, Drouin trade.
I don't need a defenseman.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
A trade like that where you're trading a young player that's 22 for a young player that's 22. You doing that trade?
But who's taking the wing and giving me a different position? Like in other words, who's taking Lafreniere and trading me a comparable age center? Winger? They wanted to play at center. They made Montreal. So in their mind, they were trading for a center. And that was a defenseman for a forward trade. If we were looking for a defenseman, it could make sense. Like someone posted today the 2019 draft, and they were like, look at all the people we passed on. And I'm like, other than Mo Seider, I don't know who out of the top 20 I really gave a shit about passing on.
Well, Dylan Cousins and Trevor Zegras.
I don't think Zegras is ever going to be the guy. You want to complain about Panarin? Go watch Zegras play 60 minutes of hockey. I don't think Zegras is ever going to be a guy that
He's probably going to put up more points than Kakko, though.
Great. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy you can win with. He's Panarin. He's just a younger Panarin. Same guy.
And I'll be honest with you. I don't think Kakko was terrible in this series.
He wasn't.
He wasn't. He just wasn't putting up points. But who put up points? And we can sit here and crucify everybody. One guy played well this series, consistently for 7 games. That was Igor.
Okay, I thought you were going somewhere else because I've seen other people say it.
That's it. One guy, 7 games. He's the only guy that played well in all 7 games. Everyone else had their moments. Tarasenko was good in 3 games.
I do not want Barrett Hayton anywhere near this team, Danny. I thought that was the reach. Him being picked at 5, I thought was the reach of the draft. I'm not trading Keandre Miller. I'm sorry. I have no interest in trading a guy that is he's a physical unicorn.
I'm not trading him, but I'm not giving him $5 million based off of what I saw.
He's not going to get $5 million. I don't understand why people think that any of these guys are going to get paid.
Because we saw Brady Shea get the same fucking deal, Sean. We saw Brady Shea have a great season, have a down season, and get $6 million a year on a 6-year deal. We've seen it. There's precedents for it.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Different administration.
Well, let's hope so.
It's not happening.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
The Rangers have always reached and locked up defensemen. They've done it with Girardi twice. Stahl twice. They did it with Girardi. They did it with McDonough. They did it with Brady Shea. They've done it. And the McDonough contract was the only one that was a good deal. The Stahl contract was horrible. The Girardi second contract was horrible. And the Brady Shea contract was horrible. To me, this is what I'm doing with these two guys. Say, guys, not a great playoff. Qualifying offer or sit out.
Right.
That's it. Qualifying offer or sit out. They won't do it. They'll give him a 2. It's the only place where you get a raise off a mediocre season is in sports. I knew these guys should get less money. They should give them less than what they're making now.
Listen, I think Lafreniere is going to get 2 years, $2 million. He's going to get the same deal Kakko got off of his.
He's going to get the Kakko bridge deal. That's exactly what he's going to get. And Miller
that's what he deserves.
And Miller should get the same.
And what we need to do, and I've been able to do it now. I've done this in my brain. I advise that some of you start to do the same. Stop worrying about where these guys were drafted and just try and accept who they are. Because they're both good hockey players, but they may never be great. It's trending toward they're not going to be great. But both of them still could be 50, 60-point players. And those are useful. As long as you're never paying for them to be 80-point players and you're paying them consummate to what they are. I like their games. That line was the only line that got the puck deep and actually cycled. They couldn't score. They couldn't. I don't think that they were physically strong enough to get inside against the Devils' defense.
Sean, listen. How long do we have to wait for this now?
They're 21, 22 years old. They're not ready. Okay. It is what it is. Neither one is Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is special. To compare either one of them to Jack Hughes.
Justin Mercer actually started.
Had one goal. He had one goal.
He had two
on a rebound.
And one of them was a shorthanded goal. And again, he gave up 3 short.
Did you notice Dawson Mercer in this series?
Not in the first 3-4 games, but I saw.
I didn't notice him at all. I forgot he was even playing.
Towards the end of the series, you saw him. Listen, they got beat. You know who they got beat by? Fucking Eric Haller.
Yeah. To me, he stood out more than anybody besides Hughes on that team.
And he was a donation from Boston.
Oh no, they traded Zaka to get him.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it wasn't a donation. I thought the same.
I forgot.
Been had for nothing.
I forgot they traded Zaka for him.
They traded Zaka to get him, but he was by far, other than Hughes, he was their most Jesper Bratt to me was invisible this whole series.
And even Palat. Palat actually was he stepped.
Just kept taking penalties.
but he actually stepped on their neck when it was time to put them away. He put them.
Which
away.
You knew he would.
And honestly, Sean, that to me that is the biggest glaring problem the Rangers have is they don't have.
Andre Palat.
They don't have those hard-nosed, rugged, know what it takes to win type of guys, and I think that's a problem. And
we had Fost, and Fost is gone.
You can keep running it back with the same team, but if you're running it back expecting the same results, I don't see it.
Well, the result last year was that they got to the conference finals and ran out of gas
because Crosby got hurt.
Say what you want. They got to the conference finals.
Right. Listen, I don't want to take it away from the
team. They just played against a 22-year-old goalie that none of us ever heard of. Everybody, including myself, said that Vitek Vanacek was being taken out. We all assumed Mackenzie Blackwood was going to be the goalie. Nope. Never even fucking heard of this guy. Nope. Who the guy behind me was calling Schmidmark the whole game.
Well, he definitely shoved it up our ass, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you want to sit there and say
though.
who we...
He wasn't great, though.
Okay.
They anointed
and we lost.
And we still lost, yeah. We didn't lose because of him. We lost because we couldn't forecheck and we couldn't get
NHL Network last night, I forget who it was saying, he goes, the Rangers, had trouble beating Louis Domingue last year, but they beat him. They had trouble beating Antti Ranta last year, but they beat him. And then they ran into Vasilevsky. And they had trouble again beating Schmid. So they've had trouble beating, these no-name backup goalies.
Everybody.
I expect Schmidt to get lit up by Carolina. I don't think he's that good. I don't. He made some big saves in Game 7. I will give him that. The save he made on Mika's one-timer was great. The save he made on Trocheck's one-timer was great. You know, but he leaves a lot of rebounds. And we, to the Devils' credit defensively, we didn't sniff the crease after game 2. Just didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Nope. We're going to see tomorrow what Drury has to say, and hopefully we'll actually get
Is he going to talk tomorrow?
Who knows, Sean? Who knows?
I tweeted at Vince today. I said, is this guy going to fucking... Is he gonna...
He better. He better. He's the architect of this fucking team.
Yeah.
But no one will ask him a hard question. No one will say to
So,
him, "Do you
Gunnar,
think Kane was overkill?" No one's going to say anything derogatory at all.
Gunnar Harms just commented 922 save percentage in 18 games for Schmid during the regular season. Gunnar, when he first went in, I went and looked at his numbers and said, "Oh shit, that's really really good." I went back and I looked at who he played against. He played against all the bottom rung teams. Anytime he faced a decent team, he gave up 3-4 goals. So, but he had a couple of shutouts against like Montreal. Like he played against all the shit.
Yeah, teams we had a hard time against.
Yes, the teams that we had a hard time against. Schmid was dynamite against those guys.
That's my point, Sean. About this. This started at the beginning of the season where they came out and they were guns blazing and they smoked Tampa, they smoked Carolina. Excuse me, they smoked Anaheim, and they thought it was going to be easy. And I think this season, I think they were bigger. I think they thought they were better than they were.
Yeah. I mean, thanks to our audio visual team that we have here, we were able to actually get someone tapped Chris Drury's phone. So Drury was actually at a wedding for Game 7, so he had to call in to one of the beat writers to find out, you know, what was going on in Game 7. Yep. So take a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's this?
This is Vinny.
Vinny, what happened?
Well,
Everything get straightened out?
No, we had a problem. I mean, we tried to do everything we could.
What do you mean?
Well, you know what I mean. He's gone. And we couldn't do nothing about it. That's it.
What do you mean?
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
So that's what happened in the game. Vinny Gumbat's up in section 212.
It's over. It's over. Yeah.
Not even an open casket.
That's gonna be Gallant.
Yeah, I was gonna save that for Gallant, but I'm like, no, I'm gonna do that.
No, listen, I mean, I hate blaming coaches. I really do. I don't enjoy it. I think it's an easy way out, but honestly, this is the only way.
Yeah, you got to hope that someone else, back under them, gets them to play the way that they need to play. Listen, the one piece of there's two things that you can still hang your hat on. Igor is the best or top 3 goalie in the league, and still in his prime, still in the contract for 2 more years. So there's that, and that automatically gives us a chance to be right back in the playoffs again next season.
Right.
No matter what else they do.
Right.
The other thing is that this team still did go out there and get to a conference finals last year. So there still has to be some sort of internal belief in themselves. And if is the one who takes the hit, which, let's be honest, that happens a lot. They're able to reset and kind of, listen, they're going to look inward. Someone like Kreider's smart enough to look inward and know, this is on us. Someone like Trouba, I think, is smart enough as well. But as a team, they can get a reset and say, all right, we're starting. You start a new office and you started a new desk and all the junk that you had for 20 years at your old desk is off. You start that new desk like you feel invigorated right away. To work a little harder. I think you'll see some of that with a new coach, and it'll make, because otherwise you just have a 600-pound elephant in the room in training camp. You all got to answer questions. The coach has to answer all the questions. What happened last year? How do you prevent that from happening again? How are you going to work with Panarin? New coach is going to say, listen, we're starting from scratch here. Makes it a lot easier. It's a breath of fresh air instead of like I'm saying, the 600-pound elephant, coming into training camp, which is what you'll see if Gallant is back.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if Gallant comes back, then they definitely have to make some kind of change.
Who? How?
I don't know, Sean. I don't know. That's why I'm not paid to do this. They have to figure it out.
This is what we do, Rock.
This is what they have. This is what they need to figure out. That means Goodrow's gone, and that to me, that's the only player I can see them being moved.
How does that make us better?
By taking his money and spreading it out over 3 players.
Who? Why?
We'll
What players you want to bring in for $1 million each?
I don't know. We'll find out. I don't know yet.
So you don't want Othman here next year? You're against.
I'm not if he's playing on the 4th line. Cooley.
I think he's going to be on the 3rd line. I don't think you bring him up to play 4th line.
So that means just slide. So who you sliding up, Kako?
Truthfully, I want the same 4th line back as the 4th line. The 3rd line is where I would bring whoever I'm adding to this team. I don't want to move VC up. I don't want to move Goudreau up, and I don't want to move Mott up. I want all 3 of those guys back playing as the 4th line.
What was Goudreau's face-off numbers?
I don't know. Is he really here for face-offs?
Yes.
Or is he here?
4th line player should be able to win face-offs.
What important defensive zone face-off does he ever put those guys out for?
Well, to be fair, he played a lot against Hughes, especially in games 1 through 4. He was out there against Hughes a lot, Goudreau. And if you're losing defensive zone faceoffs against that line with him, then it's a fucking problem.
Let me see if I'm able to find if Hockey Reference.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think Goudreau's a center. I don't think he's a center. And I'm telling you right now, they don't replace anybody on those wings. He's moving back up, and so is VC. How'd you think VC played in the playoffs?
Played 8 minutes a game, and I thought he was noticeable every time he played.
Even though he was on the ice, that line was pinned in at times, especially in Game 6, and also was on the ice for the game-winning goal in overtime.
So let me see. Game 1, does it give me face-off? No, it doesn't. It doesn't give me face-offs at all. Even by game.
It doesn't matter.
Thanks, Hockey Reference.
Does not matter.
Oh, well, maybe it'll do it. Playoff stats. Hold on. Scoring regular season, scoring playoffs. Nope. Why do face-offs? Yeah.
I thought. What about NHL.com? They don't have face-offs.
I don't. I never used NHL.com, so I wouldn't know how to navigate it quick enough. So who knows?
I'll look it up. Goudreau's only 30. It was older than that. So Goudreau, face-off wise, was 45% this season. So his lowest percentage in his entire career. 49. He was 45.87 this year. 49.39, 50. 48.84, 49, 50, 58, 66. He's actually gotten worse. But he's probably taken more face-offs. But a full 82 games this year, Goudreau. And had his second highest point production of his career. Mm-hmm. His highest was last year with the Rangers, where he scored 33 points. He had 31. He is contributing offensively for a third, fourth line guy. But again, he moved up and down the lineup. He tied his career high in assists, and he was two goals off his career high in goals.
I'll put it to you this way.
He scored over 10 goals his 2 seasons he was here.
If my options are, I need to get rid of Goudreau to retain Tarasenko, like if Tarasenko is willing to play for, let's say, 4.5, and I need to clear that 3.6 off my 4th line to sign Tarasenko, to keep Tarasenko for a couple of years, that I might consider doing. Mm-hmm. But I'm not getting rid of him. I'm not getting rid of Goudreau to fill in with 2 other, guys making 1.5. To me, that doesn't move the needle for me. I'd rather keep the devil I know.
Trouba in 57 playoff games has 12 points.
Okay.
30 points in the regular season for Trouba. 8 goals.
I don't rely on him for points. It's not what I'm looking for from him.
Okay.
What's his plus minus in the playoffs?
-1. -1.
-1.
Trouba was a plus 25 last season. Not this season, the season before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's only scored 50. He's only weighted over 40 points one.
He was 45.9% in the playoffs Goudreau. Danny's just said.
Not good enough.
No.
Not good.
It's not bad. 46% isn't
what
bad.
What was Hedel? Hedel probably.
Oh.
Hedel was probably like 15%.
To me, that's the one thing keeping him from being a 2C, from being a guy who can play 18 minutes is his face-offs.
Probably. And listen, I mean, someone made a really good point. I don't know who it was about, maybe they should try Hedel with Panarin and just to see what you got. You got to see what he can do. I mean,
Well, it's going to come to that next year. I think you're going to see Kakko play with Kreider and Zibanejad. He was very good when it played, and I think you could see Hedel and you could see a line that's Panarin, Hedel,
Kane,
Tarasenko if he's back, Kane possibly.
What does Tarasenko make next year on a contract? $6 million? $7
Oh, that's
million?
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
7.5 again?
No. He had 7.5 when he was one of the best players in the league.
All right, so what do you think he's getting? $4 million? $5 million?
4. I could see 4. He's 31. So he's not going to get term. I could see him getting 4.5 by 3 or 4.5 by 4.
I like him, Sean. I do. I like the fact that he's a shoot first guy, but he's so slow. We need somebody that can move out on this ice, man. We can't keep bringing back these slow players. He's so slow. I mean, Panarin's slow and Lafreniere's slow and Kakko's slow. I mean, and the whole fourth line is slow. I mean, they need some freaking an adrenaline shot here. Some guy that can move out there.
You're not wrong.
So
Tell you what, Tyler Bertuzzi played himself out of a contract for us.
Why?
Because he was phenomenal in the playoffs. He was the only guy that showed up for Boston. Him and Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
2 of them are great. Yeah, Bertuzzi made himself a lot of money.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him.
Because to me, he's a guy I would do almost anything to get.
See, to me,
because you can't get Matthew Tkachuk. You can't get Tkachuk.
Watching Timo Meier the way he played in this series, his snarl and his tenacity.
Yeah.
I know though he didn't score. I thought Meier was very good in this series.
Talk out of the same side of the Trouba mouth, and you say that about Timo Meier.
Why?
Timo Meier's supposed to score. Trouba's not.
Well, so let me tell you something.
You're going to pay Timo Meier $8 million. He's getting $10 million next year. Timo.
He should have. But Timo Meier had 39 goals in the regular season
and 0 in the playoffs.
We'll see next round. Igor robbed him at least 5 times. Hey, listen, it happens, Sean, with goaltenders. I mean, at least he had the opportunity. At least he had opportunities. That's more than they can say for a lot of guys on the Rangers. How many of those prime opportunities do the Ranger players have? Not many. Not many.
I'm just saying, you just shit on Trouba because he doesn't bring any offense.
But Trouba's
right, so he should be even less inclined to bring
40
offense.
Points.
Okay.
He scored 40 points. He's making $8 million.
Right. His partner had 40 points. So while he played a different role, let his partner be the offensive guy.
40 points?
He did.
So you giving him $8 million?
No. No, sir.
Well, we'll see what happens.
That's the beauty of being a restricted free agent without arbitration rights.
Well, I don't know. I think Miller has arbitration rights.
How? It's coming off your ELC. You don't get arbitration rights right away.
Well, that's even more. It's even more so than that he should have a what's it called?
Everyone gets a bridge until the Panarins of the world are off the books. Everyone's bridged.
That's how I feel. We'll see what happens. So, what do you expect to hear tomorrow? Let's end with this.
There's one guy we have not killed that deserves a throat slashing here.
Can I guess? So who would you? Zibanejad.
No. Worse.
Worse than him? Lafreniere?
The $9.5 million man.
Ah, yes.
Nonchalant.
Yes.
I don't know where this nonchalant bullshit came from him. He had listen. Fox had the 4 points in game 1. Thought 2 of them were just you get the assist. Yeah, there's like secondary assists. They weren't anything crazy. He had a couple of nice passes that led to goals. So yeah, you give him credit. Don't get me wrong. But he got a lot of national attention for having 6 points in the first 2 games.
A lot of leech attention.
Yeah. He was bad. He was very slow. I mean, again, Lindgren was playing hurt, so that I think that hurt him a little bit. But He wasn't good, and he couldn't do anything offensively. We generated nothing. Their game plan was to stop him at the blue line, similar to what Carolina did to us in the bubble, which scared the shit out of me when it came to Fox long term. Mm-hmm. Last year he was able to play well in the playoffs, and so you got a little bit away from that, thinking that the one thing that I did like with Fox is he actually got physical. He actually tried to play physical. Not his game though.
Nope.
So, but this nonchalant shit, when the puck is cleared on the power play and it takes him 20 seconds to come back to get the puck and turn up ice, it's a waste.
They all do that though.
He's.
I feel like they all do that.
The one person I actually liked on the power play for just that thing was Trocheck. Trocheck was good at getting the puck up the ice quick.
No, too bad he didn't put up any points for that.
No, he didn't. He sure didn't. Yeah, no, Sean, I'm not suggesting trading Fox. No. Even though he's the one guy you could trade because he doesn't have a no move clause, and just about any team in the league would take him.
Yeah.
And you'd get a big haul back for him. That's for sure.
Just not Taylor Hall or Adam.
Not Taylor Hall
or Adam Hall.
And Eric Hall.
Oh yeah, I want him after this series. No, I'm kidding. But you know what's funny? Like the Devils always seem to find those guys. And I'll tell you, they did a Fitzgerald, who I think is an idiot in a lot of ways. He's done a really good job constructing this.
People don't, guys. You don't understand how good they're going to be.
They're just scratching the surface.
Yep. You know why? Because when they were 2 years into the rebuild of that they were doing and won a couple of lotteries, I don't know. They didn't go out and sign an $11.5 million guy that can't play playoff hockey.
Also, to be fair, Sean, their 2 lottery wins turned out to be stud players.
Heishier's becoming a stud now. He was very slow to start his career. So for all the trade Lafrenières and trade Kakos of the world, it took Hischier a while to get to where he is right now.
I'm going to look up Hischier's numbers.
This is what, his 6th year, I think, now?
Is it that many years? I'm going to look it
up.
Yeah.
He was drafted the same draft as Nolan Patrick, Cal McCarr, Mikko Heiskanen. He's in the Filipino draft.
Yeah. How do you spell Hischier?
Hisc.
Yeah, I got it. Maybe not. I'll look it up.
So this is what? This was Heedle's 5th season?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, Hischier's in year 6.
I'm just trying to find the statistics. That sucks. But it didn't come up.
You using a rotary over there?
Yeah, pretty much. He's 24. He's been in the league since he was 18, right? He did have 5 assists in the playoffs, which pretty incredible. Only has 1 career playoff goal.
Yeah, this was his 6th season.
Yeah. So he sure had a point in the last 5 games of the series. He sure had a point. He did put up 52 points his rookie season, Sean.
Playing 16 minutes a night. Something that our first and second round picks have never done.
All right. And he put up 80 points this year. 60 points.
Yeah. No. He's developed into, Patrice Bergeron light. But he's played on the first or second line his entire career.
He's scored less than 36 points.
He's played on the first or second line his entire carear.
You really, to be completely honest, you really think that Kakko and Lafreniere would have developed if they played on the first or second line? They had opportunities. They never ran with it.
I think it's been drummed into their head to play this supportive role so far in their career that they're doing what they're doing. They're essentially they're being good teammates. They're playing their role. The problem is they defer too much, and that's the problem. That's why I like them when they all play together. Now this series, listen, they did not produce, but when they started playing together, the 3 of them, and they stopped trying to put one of them on the line with Panarin and one of them on the line with Zibanejad, down the stretch, they wound up producing. So that's why I'd like to see them actually play 17, 18 minutes a night, as a line next year. I don't want to break them up because otherwise they defer. The Devils they did it. You got to give the Devils some credit against them. They were too big and physical, for 3 kids.
Kako had he had 40 points this year.
They all did.
They all did?
Yeah. Or I think Lafreniere had 39.
He would have Kako would have had 40 points last year too if he didn't get hurt. Only played 43 games.
Like I said, I think Kako lacks the killer instinct to score goals. Like I think that's the part of his game. I don't know if he'll ever get, even though he had 18 goals this year. So he may top out as a 25 goal scorer, but I'll put it to you this way. If Kako winds up being Andre Palat for his career, being that 55, 60 point guy that's a terror to play against on the boards, that does all the dirty work.
Right.
Is that, like I said, put where he was picked in the draft aside, that's a really good player.
Yeah.
If Lafreniere, as Lafreniere grows up and, grows into his body, matures and can become a really good power forward that can score 30 goals and, be a 55, 60 point guy.
Yeah.
That, again, is a terror to play, hard to play against.
Right.
Then they're going to be guys you're never going to have to pay 10% of your salary cap to. Are they, when we're going to look, like I said, Owen Nolan is someone who's not looked at as should have been the number 1 pick type of guy. He's not a Hall of Famer. You draft someone first. What?
He had a nice career though.
Had a very nice career, and it started off quicker, and it started off quick and ended, not so great. But I think it was scored 40 goals like his first or second year or something like that. But if Loft just winds up having one of those types of careers where you all said and done, he has 700 points and 300 something goals, he has a Kreider type career. Yeah, it's not the number 1 pick, but it's still not. It's not someone you just get rid of because you're disappointed is not worthy of being picked first overall again.
Owen Nolan scored 40 goals twice.
Yeah, but I think like his first or second year he had 40, right?
For his second year he had 42, then 36. Then
but by 30 years old, he was on different teams every year.
Before he got hurt, he only played 6 games, and then it was a shortened season. He scored 30 goals in 46 games. Then he got traded to Colorado. So
right.
No, I'm sorry. They moved. They moved to Colorado.
They moved. And he was traded 6 games in.
Yeah, 9 games in. But
San Souza Lynch.
29. He had 30 goals that year. He had 30 goals the next year.
Yep.
And then he had a little bit of a downswing. He had 14 and 19, and then he scored 40 goals again with San Jose. Played with San Jose a long time. I forgot he played for Toronto for 2 years. Played for Phoenix for a year.
That's what I'm saying. He wound up just jumping around at the end.
Toronto for 2, Phoenix for 1, Calgary for 1, Minnesota for 2. He scored 45 points in 59 games his first season with Toronto, with the Wild. Nice career.
Nice career. And that might be all Loft has.
1,200 points, 185 points in 1,200 games.
Right. But that's my point. Loft and Kako might just have nice careers and not be superstars. And just start to accept that. That doesn't mean you got to move them. That doesn't mean, fuck them, trade them, shit for a number 1 pick. Okay. He's here. So what do you want to do about it? You want to just get rid of him for the sake of getting rid of him? What does that do? Yeah. Again, that's Ottawa trading Mika Zibanejad for Derek Brassard. That's what Ottawa did.
The only way I trade him for is if I'm trading for another young player along those lines. But, I mean, again, Sean, how long do you hold on to a guy for until he has no value? Is that what you do with him?
He's had 40 points. How does a 40-point kid have no value?
Well, I'm just saying.
That's still... How many people in the league?
The thing is, after a while, the luster of him being the first overall pick wears off. And you
may
not be able to get as much for him.
I'm not trying to trade him, though. That's not my goal is not to trade him. My goal is that he's 21 and is a 40-point guy. How, by age 25, do I get him to be a 60-point guy?
We'll see.
That's my goal.
He wasn't good this season. I don't. The points to me are deceiving. I don't think he was very good this season.
Okay. Well, you gotta hope that. So if not being good, he scores 40 points. What'll happen when he plays well?
Yeah, I guess. We'll see. I guess we'll have to see what happens. I don't know what the answers are right now. We're probably not going to know for another 2 months.
But you surely don't give up on a 21-year-old kid or 22-year-old kid in Kako's case.
When they gave up on Elias Anderson, how old was he?
He sucked. He couldn't get 7 points in a season.
True.
To compare them to Elias Anderson, come on.
No, I know,
That's
I'm fucking around. But it's the way it goes. But this was good, man. That was not less yelling than I expected. I expect a lot more yelling. I'm just kind of accepted it. And honestly, I think hearing that Quenneville's an option, I think that kind of makes me feel a little bit better about next season, where it's not as much doom and gloom. And if it's not, it is what it is. But I think we're in for another boring offseason.
Jonathan Riggs goes, Elias Anderson couldn't jump over a wire on the ice.
Pretty bad.
If anyone summed up their entire Ranger career in one act that we all saw,
yeah, it was brutal.
It was that.
That was brutal. But we'll see what happens.
Do you want to touch base on Drury at all before we wrap this up?
Like I said, I don't like some of the things he did. I don't think his trade deadline was as defined as it was last year. I think he was dealing with a little bit, obviously, with salary cap restraints. I thought the Mikula Tarasenko trade was a good one. I think the Ma trade was a good one. I think the Kane trade was a force. I think they forced that move. I understand why they did it. I get it when you can get Patrick Kane for next to nothing. I completely understand. I just don't think he was needed. I don't.
So if they don't make that move,
they're bringing in somebody else. I just
how?
don't know who it would have been.
They would have jumped through the hoops that they went through to get.
They would have had it. They still
to
would
get
have
a
had
third
around
liner.
They still would have had $1 million in cap space.
Yeah, but they jumped through a lot of hoops, and they jumped through those hoops because it was Kane playing shorthanded for 5 games.
They could have done what they did and still had $1 million in cap space accrued. They fucked up to me to begin with. They played a lot of this season with too many guys that they could have accrued all this space for, and I really hope he learned his lesson.
Right.
You didn't need to carry, the max amount of guys for as long as they did, because they were afraid of losing Libor Hayek. I mean, that's really what it came down to. I mean, you were that afraid of losing Libor Hayek, who lost his job to Ben Harper anyway.
Right.
So I never understood that. Obviously, the guy has zero value. The poor bastard can't get on the ice. He's only 25 years old. I think they really need to cut him loose. This poor kid. At least
still an RFA.
At least
he's still under team control.
He went to Hartford and played. Is playing.
Right.
Jake
I want to go back even further. I will now actually. This is my day to admit where I've been wrong. Right. I killed Igor. I'll say his name correctly now. Mike Silvers. I killed Igor. I've run that back. He's not Hank. I'm not putting him on Hank level yet. Sorry, it's only been 2 years of this, so he's not there yet for me. But he has entered the chat, as the kids say today, right?
Yeah.
What I also want to circle back on is the Buchnevich trade was a failure, and I liked the Buchnevich trade at the time. I thought getting Sammy Blais was going to be a big help for this team, and I was willing to take a second-round pick instead of a first-round pick to get Buch. The fact that money that Buch signed for a pretty reasonable deal and it wasn't a one-hit wonder what he did with us his last year. He's become a point-of-game player that plays a pretty nasty style of hockey as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, KZB would have looked really good to continue for several more years to come.
Right.
And that trade is, I think, thoroughly biting us in the ass because we're continually trying to find his replacement still. They made 2 trades at the trade deadline this year to try and replace Buchnevich.
Right.
How many times are we going to keep trying to do that? Because I don't know that Kakko and Lafreniere are those guys.
Well, they better be. They better be, Sean, because then what are you doing with
I'm saying during this run.
And Lafreniere, I mean, the problem with Lafreniere, too, is he's blocked for at least another 5 years.
Right, he won't play. He can't play the right side.
So, I mean, that's the other issue we have. He's going to be a third-line player his whole career. I mean, till he's 27, 28 years old.
No.
On the wrong side.
No, Panarin's here for 3 more years. At the most, he's here for 3 more years. So he'll be blocked till he's 25.
If they get
24.
If they get rid of Panarin, it'll be an absolute miracle.
It's not happening. I'm not. Listen, I will be stunned. I will celebrate if it ever happens. It's not happening.
You need this guy to come back and coach.
Stop with the Messier stuff.
You saw that today?
Oh God! Stop.
That's how you know it's bad luck when my freaking Messier bobblehead broke.
People need to stop that. I cringe every time you're scrolling through Facebook and you see someone post a picture of Messier saying he needs to go visit the locker room. Stop.
They love bringing up 94. They love it. They love bringing up the positive stuff about 94. And when they break a record, but they don't like to bring up the negative stuff about 94. What they did, like the Rangers this season, this hasn't happened since 94. Yeah, well, they also beat friggin' 2 teams handily in the first round. It's a big difference. Totally different team.
Yes.
Totally different team.
And it's you're now two hockey generations removed from Marc Messier being relevant.
30 years. It's going to be 30 years next season. 30 years. 30 years. Already halfway back to where we were the last time.
Yeah. Put it to bed. Put it to bed. I
wish they would.
I've done it. I put
After
the celebration, the 25th anniversary celebration that they had at the Garden a few years ago, that was it for me.
Yeah.
That's where I put it. That I celebrated the hell out of it. That was a chilling moment for me to be in the building with those guys like that and seeing the jerseys and wearing my Leafs jersey and wearing the '94 championship hat and all that shit. But that was it.
Cheering Doug Litzner.
I'll cheer it again at the 50th anniversary if those guys are still alive.
Yeah.
Stop with the Messier stuff, guys. I don't think anybody in this group's really guilty of it, but it's.
Well, I don't know. We saw somebody that I think was very, very influential brought up Messier. His name will remain nameless.
Oh.
But you commented on it. You know who I'm talking about.
There's a reason why he's never gotten a coaching job, right?
Messier always seems like didn't he make a lot of money over his career? I feel like he's constantly having new business ventures.
That fail.
They all fail.
They all fail. Maybe the guy's just a really, really good hockey player, and that was it.
Maybe.
Because he's not really entertaining on TV, yet he's got a job.
I
appreciate him being there. Just because we get a little bias.
I love talking about the Devil series and the guaranteed game and all this other stuff.
I didn't watch 1 minute of ESPN this series. Not 1 minute.
I get it.
So
I get it. But we'll see tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow. I mean, we're gonna.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week, and I think we're gonna take a break after next week, right, for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll probably take a break until the draft. Until just before the draft.
We're gonna try to line up some guests maybe before. We'll try
to
figure out
something. Who's
gonna
do 9:30 with us?
Well, we'll find it.
Is Ted Nolan still available?
Yeah.
That's a good one, Joe. I like that one.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
The Aborigine himself.
Yep.
All right, guys. Sucks that it's over, but it's over. As I said, there was nothing we could do about it. So we'll see you guys next week.